Good evening, everybody. I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is now 6:31. I'm going to just take a head count here and see what we got. We got Joe DeLucia and Greg Pelassi online. We got Greg Carabine, Peter Gauthier, Stacy Gould, Cindy Beauregard, Sheila Hay, Mark Poulos, Christine Savio, and myself here. So a quorum is present. First order of business is approval of the minutes from the meeting of May 16th. I'd ask for a motion regarding that. So moved by Stacy. Is there a second? A second by Cindy Beauregard. Are there any additions, corrections, and deletions to the minutes? Did anybody send anything in? Hearing none, a roll call. I'll note that all votes will be roll call votes, and we are recording. So we'll start with the roll call votes. I'm usually try to start with the Zoom people. We'll start on the motion. Joe DeLucia.
Yes.
Greg Pelassi.
Yes.
Go around the table here. Greg Yardley. Peter Gauthier. Yes. Christine Sazio.
Yes.
Stacey Gould.
Yes.
Cindy Beauregard. You say yes? Yes. Sheila.
Yes.
Mark Poulos. Yes. Mark Betancourt's a yes. We are missing Bill Hall. He did let me know ahead of time that he would not be here. So I think, does that make 10-0? Yes. 10-0, one absent. So we'll go right to CSG report on progress, education specifications, space determination discussions, etc. Mike, that's your tag.
Yeah. So this is a handout, just to kind of
Those of you online should if you got my email, you should have gotten the with the agenda, you should have gotten the attachment with this. So you should be able to follow along.
because it's more down that wall.
I don't think so. Copy of your folder.
Now it's time to,
This is nice.
yeah. That's what,
No, it's easy to look at. Thanks for printing it out.
oh, no problem. Thank you.
That was
Well,
looking at it.
I will tell you, when we talked about what we were going to present to the committee, I wanted the committee, I'll tell you up front, I wanted the committee to see the effort that's gone into these discussions, and there were several meetings. Some of which I did send everyone a note regarding if anyone wants to get involved in this, they have availability and they want to attend some of the meetings, they'll let me know and we'll make those arrangements. Because I'm not the only one driving this bus, you guys are too. So I want Peter and I worked on the rubric together. So we were having that conversation, and in doing so, he had some availability. I had some scheduling conflicts at work recently, so probably will be off and on for the next couple months or something. But so I'll still have some flexibility, but I intend to getting to everything that I can. But Peter offered to cover, to show up at the meeting on behalf of the committee. Not that we needed anyone from the committee. We don't absolutely have to have anyone, but it's certainly good if members of the committee are there so that somebody can touch base and, with the people there. So, so if anyone's ever interested in participating in any of these, as we go along, I certainly encourage them to reach out to me and we get set up.
Question,
Good.
are they held in the daytime? Or?
They usually they do time meetings, yeah. So in this particular case, we're talking about meetings with the superintendent and other NPS staff. So
So when the staff is there.
Yeah.
Monday through Friday
during the
During
day, and it can vary because, of course, her schedule is a little bit crazy, So she's trying to. But right now, they're off for a couple of weeks, which means this stuff is going to happen offline. Well, it's technically going to be online, but it's going to be via email. We're going to have more discussions regarding this, so we'll have to come up with some proposals and go back and forth on it. So we won't have any kind of meeting on this kind of stuff in the next couple of weeks at least. But yeah, because I think Kristen and Amber both are like on
Well, Amber just came back and Kristen and Bob Kapinski are trying to get in vacations
Yep.
before the first of July.
Yeah,
But I think Kristen did offer us the email.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's how we'll play, because we really got to get this stuff, nailed down. But we've, if you notice, we made some considerable progress. Go ahead.
Yeah, so
No,
this space allocation table basically will end up as a portion of the educational specification. And basically what this space allocation does, it shows you the allocation square footage throughout the building. The way that the Office of School Construction Grants works, if there's a space standard worksheet that you fill out with the total projected enrollment of the highest 8 years for each building. And then that gives you a number, and then that number, based on some formulas that the state uses, gives you an allowable reimbursable square footage for the project. In our case, with the 597 planned student or highest 8-year projected student enrollment for the 2 schools, the target square footage. And if you go to page 4, where it says total building area, the number that we're looking to get to for full state reimbursement would be 75,572 square feet.
That's total building area?
Right.
Right. That would be the total reimbursable square footage.
For total building area.
What was,
Yeah,
yeah.
75,572 square feet. So
It's not. I'm sorry. Part time,
75,572 square feet.
172, that's what we want, the reimbursable square.
And that was how many students?
597,
597.
which was supported by the enrollment update that we had proper GIS to a couple months back. So when you get to the last page of the sheet, just a couple things to clarify for everyone. So total program area on the sheet, which is a different square foot total, is the total square footage of all of the interior educational spaces where an educational program would happen, meaning a classroom, an auditorium, a gymnasium, a cafeteria. The kitchen is included. And then the next line, which is total building core circulation. Building core circulation and interior walls is all of the square footage within the building that would be considered a corridor. Interior walls have a thickness, and in a size building like this, when you take a 6-inch wall and calculate however many feet of wall there is, that ends up becoming quite a large number. As well as some restrooms that potentially may not be laid out within the rest of the space.
So like what you call the gang restroom.
Yeah.
There are some restrooms that are identified specific for program or office space, but when you're talking the general restroom areas, so that circulation space covers restrooms, corridors, stairwells, elevators, wall thickness, non-program area.
My question is, I noticed when I looked this over, there was no mention of or allocation for anything like mechanical spaces, electrical, heating, server.
Part of the 40,
That's part of the 40%.
That's part of it.
All right,
That's part of the circulation.
so that's non-allocated,
Correct.
non-specified,
Correct.
but it is allocated in the
In
40%.
in what we call the gross effect.
Okay,
And basically, we have to include that because those spaces will be necessary to get a fully operational building. So, at the end of the day, the way that the state calculates it is the total building area with that included, even though it's not program area for the students.
and that includes like outside or access and
No,
corridors specifically for those
Correct.
spaces.
anything inside the wall, the exterior wall of the building.
All right.
So I will, so in the way of progress, I'll note that when the superintendent's first initial proposal was how many square feet total?
166,270.
So, and we're down to 91,541. So obviously we've made some considerable progress with this. We've got a ways to go yet. Some of the decisions are kind of difficult because you would rather, some of this stuff you would rather see in there. I do plan on asking for, some accommodation legislatively as when we go along for some amount, whatever we can fit within the budget. So, and that might add another 5,000, square feet to the whole. So, but I can't do it. Stacey. But to add another 5,000 square feet to it and stay within the budget. As obviously the big thing is we have to stay within that the bond referendum number. So we have to stay within that. That's a must. So and we will do that. So. But there is some play in how we get that. The issue is there is in the state reimbursement. So we certainly want to be able to get the maximum allowable reimbursement. So I will note that, thank you, Senator Austin, because we did in the legislative session, did finish up, we did get the 80% for these first two schools that we've been talking about. So that's written in. So that's a good thing. Go ahead. Christine.
It's gonna seem pretty much you folks, but after working in school for 20 years and plus, and being involved in moving in and everything, and knowledge that, a closet could be basketball. So a closet or PTO, depends on.
Right.
Because they always have to lug all their stuff back and forth, and if they're having an event, or they have something that they do every month, it's nice for them to have a dedicated class. And like I said, I know but it's things that make people very happy, and they're people that we're going to be trying to get to support us, help us get this all done, but
So,
if possible.
so within the space allocation and that building for circulation interior walls,
Pardon?
We would need too much.
No,
Square
no.
footage.
some storage area is
Yeah,
included
for
within
PPE.
that circulation
Yeah.
square footage. Yeah. So-
With some,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know you at NFA when we had events in the gym,
Mhm.
the games, there was no place to put things, But now all these classrooms have storage rooms, correct? Or
Right now, we don't build storage rooms within classrooms just because it burns up square footage for program area, which is always a difficult,
well, if possible,
yeah.
I think,
because there's no cupboards or anything.
Oh, no, there-
Oh, no. That's.
yeah, I think
There are cupboards like below and above on one wall
with a sink,
with the same.
with a sink. Very
Yes.
good.
so,
That, I mean, as long, and I think, Kristen saw that.
Yeah.
And
I would think she would have
Yeah, no, this.
had been a classroom.
yes.
But it's things like that, just, I know, we.
It would be-
We have a brand new
It
building.
would really be phenomenal if we could build every classroom with a 10 by 10 storage room as well as a bathroom.
Oh, that,
Give the teacher a place to hide.
yeah, the kids to not have to hide when they take off, right? And do all bad things.
Time out.
Well,
Yeah.
and in the lower grades.
Oh, yeah.
I've
Yeah.
had some that came back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pre-K,
That's different, yeah.
pre-K. and things.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Say that.
So, throughout the process, we have had to make cuts in certain areas. So the one thing to note about this too, and the reason it starts at draft number 2, draft number 1 was actually a template that we use as a starting point, which didn't have any of the superintendent's program in it yet. She took that draft in our format and updated it based on the space needs that the district would have. So the reason you don't see a first draft column was because we just had a template that, just didn't have square footage, just, space programming.
I've seen at Camp Kinder, who probably does
Yes.
this for me, but I used to deal with her from Norwich Tech. And so this was with her, she saw this and it's.
Yeah, the spaces that Pam was looking for, are accounted for. There may be some discussion about, a couple of cuts that we had to make to that space, but, it's, something that every different group is going to have to give up a little to try and get us to the end of this.
The school-based health center is on page 1.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's how it's.
so, although we were trying to get a dental exam room as part of the project, the dental exam room was one item that the superintendent recommended as a cut. As well as the waiting room that was laid out, so, our thought is when we move further into design, we could try and use potentially
Yeah,
have it near a common area that may have a waiting room or
Or-
something.
well,
creative
if
solution.
you treat it.
Here is a chair
But
here.
it's not,
So,
it's not, we don't have to have dental the whole time, they come in and visit.
Right.
Concentrated population.
So we. We should treat it.
Yeah.
So that's,
Mhm.
that's one person, they have the other area.
Yeah,
So you're talking a space of about a 20 by 25. Healthcare center.
right.
Yeah, so, like I said, the superintendent's office, obviously, we met directly with them. And CSG more than me, but and certainly there, our compromises as we go down. We go down the road here, we obviously would much rather be able to give them everything they want, but realistically, that's not gonna, it's not gonna fly. The community is, even, when the draft of the project came up, we knew we had a general idea, DRA did, regarding what the enrollment was gonna be and what the number was gonna be. We had to freshen it up for the state to make the state happy, but, all the numbers are, those numbers in the initial project are all based on that. So Josh built an extra 4 million, and I think for the sake of argument, it's a bad idea, but we're not, we're a long way, that could get spent at least in this kind of project. But but our plan here is, to get every last drop out of what we can get. We're very fortunate. We have a very good legislative group that represents this area now. Tremendously pleased by what's happened, and I want to give them all credit, and everyone that voted to support this project so far. Very fortunate to have Kathy pushing that in the Senate. Helping us out that way.
Well, now do the space allocations go up depending on, because we have a large special ed population and a large MLL population.
So, I think from the other ed specs that we've done for other districts, the population is a little larger than, typical across the state. So, there is a fair amount of square footage that is being utilized for special education purposes to support their programs.
What is it, 18% versus the life?
Yeah, I think those are the numbers we discussed.
Well, I think that was 18% of their students.
Right,
Yeah,
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 and versus what an average of 11.
right.
yeah.
So we have a considerable higher number of special education needs in this. Something to take note of.
And I think that was part of yours.
Well, it's part of the reason too, why, why we are here to begin with. We were shipping a lot of stuff out and we're trying to, we want to keep the stuff in house. So there's some cost containment there, operation. All right, sorry to interrupt, I keep interrupting.
Yeah, so
Just a second. You answer Mark's question.
Yeah, he did, that, the fact that we have a,
But your question was really, I thought, does the state make any allowances for that?
Not,
Student's a student, it's
No,
from the
not-
square footage and this thing, it's just a.
oh, all right,
Foundation.
so no.
yeah,
So even though the needs are greater for those students and we probably need more space, the state doesn't look at them different. So that would be something that we would have to eat.
At least as far as the space allocation goes.
if you were to go over that 75,572, then, you know, without special legislation,
Yeah, we would.
the
need-
city would be burdened by 100% of that.
I mean,
cost.
So remember, if anyone remembers the Kelly project, he made a decision with that, at least initially, that we would fund we were gonna fund half the auditorium because we wanted that large auditorium to be able to be used for the community.
But if now, you're saying like in that Kelly school,
Yeah,
did that have to go back to the town?
no, and we included that in the referendum question, in the funding. I think we went back and we got, I think we got special legislation on that anyway. Yeah, so that helped us out anyway. So we didn't put the full bill for that, but it was still, we had to go back twice for Kelly because it screwed up the language in the first one. But we'll, hopefully we'll get it right the first time we go back. So far, so good. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I talked before I forget it, I am.
Yeah, I feel your pain.
I was talking to the music teacher today at our school, and she was asking, first, she wanted to know if she could be on board. And second, she was saying that it would be really cool if they could have the stage in the cafeteria,
We were talking.
in the gym,
Yeah,
and.
we were talking about that.
Yeah,
So that's likely a discussion that'll
Yeah.
probably happen once the architect gets on board,
Yeah.
when we start doing space adjacencies and where the, everyone wants the spaces to be.
We were having that, we actually had
Yeah.
some discussion on that at the last meeting, so. And I think that's probably the direction we'll be going, but this is still a little soon to tell how we're gonna get it done. Yeah, because they're probably gonna be dividers involved and whatever, what else. Or floating spot, I don't know. You'll figure.
So I see now the performing arts program, there's zero space application.
Right.
That under the draft by.
of course,
So,
Specifically. So that's when we start talking about multi-use space, like the cafeteria and stuff.
She was asking.
But the problem with the cafeteria is that Kristen's anticipating, running challenge, I call it challenge, and too much time in prison. So
As a work.
running,
Yeah.
so she's anticipating running, lunchtime for quite a while, quite a good amount of time during the school day. Starting fairly early and running fairly late, so. There'll be minimal opportunities during the school day to use the cafeteria and,
so to Mark's point regarding the
but we think there's.
performing arts space being reduced.
Mm-hmm.
If you notice, the student dining, including servery, was increased by 1,400 square feet. And that description that says student dining, including servery, should have read platform and wing space as well. That's just what we call a stage now, because if you call it a stage, it has a different connotation in the state's eyes regarding ADA requirements and everything.
protection.
Yeah. It changes drastically when it's a stage, because now you have a sprinkler system under the stage.
Oh, really?
Because someone could be under there.
Peter Gother?
So, Mark, just to give you some perspective on this that I have. Sure. So under special ed,
Yeah,
we're at 11,800. That numbers would be about 3,500 lower. Yes, we were at 11%.
okay. So it is, so it is increased over what the state normally
It's a
is.
huge number.
Yeah.
Okay,
So you can take the 3,500 and then 40% of that.
So, I mean, where you're losing space is the difference between what you would normally have for the regular K, five program versus special ed. Now, special ed takes more space, but that's not 100% trade-off. That's percentage of it, percentage of the special ed space.
right. Well, generally, we try to
Uh-huh.
limit number of special ed students in a typical classroom to
Right.
maybe 8 or maximum 10
Yeah,
students.
so I think 8 to 10.
As opposed to 1.
The other,
And they require restrooms.
the other area that's getting a good amount of square footage in these two buildings, would be the pre-K program as well, the larger pre-K program
With the five.
than we've typically seen in other districts.
So that's another topic of discussion later, I think, as we get along here. But for right now, I don't think that's. But
Excuse me, Mark, I'm sorry, I have to go back to the special education. I didn't know.
So if you look at big picture, as numbers, what I'm saying is that average is 11% across the state. We're
Or
at 8,
special ed, you're at 18.
we're at 18.
Okay, yeah.
So the amount of square footage that we're allocated ends up being about a third larger. Actually 50% larger. What you would typically allocate.
So normally that figure should be about 6,000 square feet and we're got a 11,800,
How about 670?
7,500. All right.
yeah,
So 40% more. Okay.
Yeah, that's a lot.
and that's just because of the numbers.
Yeah, I know, this for high.
Okay,
I'm sorry, Mike, you were saying. Thanks.
Happens to me every day. There you go. Are you?
64.
Oh, it's barely. Yeah.
Now, the question, the music teacher had said she would prefer the stage in which area? Cafeteria, the cafeteria, rather than the gym is in the gym, we'd have bleacher space. If she has an event, she'd have bleacher seating and chairs set up. So I wonder if she's thinking that through.
Well, what,
Yeah, but I'm just thinking number wise.
one of the things that we've done in a number of elementary schools, because the state won't reimburse for a stage or an auditorium at an elementary school. So in Norwalk, we just designed well, not us, but what we recommended was putting the gymnasium and the cafeteria next to each other with a movable partition between the two and putting the platform in the cafeteria. So you kind of create a auditorium setting should you need to have a full school assembly of some sort. So it gives you that ability to have the whole school in one area with a platform in the cafeteria. You try to keep the platforms out of the gymnasiums, but sometimes it just works out better that way, depending on the student in the
When
building.
it was redone in Norwich Town here. It's in the gym, the stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're actually, Mike Cranberry is in the cafeteria, I mean, in the, excuse me.
In the gymnasium.
Yeah, so it depends on the layout of the building,
Yeah.
where it would fit best, but you try to get it into the cafeteria. That's.
Well, have you been to Uncas?
No,
Uncas is basically in the gymnasium. They have just a 3 steps up and then there's a platform and it's not a separate stage with entrances and wings.
All these items come once we hire an architect.
Right.
Well,
Right.
tonight, it's just the numbers.
Yeah.
Just focus on
The
that.
actual
Yeah.
space.
Let's get into the
Right.
design considerations when we hire.
You're right, Greg. We'll get a little off track there.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
Thank
my
you, Leslie.
main concerns are the academic special ed language needs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have a lot of that. There's 12 intervention rooms for one for language. Or one cluster of 4 for language, one cluster of 4 for math, and one cluster of 4 for reading intervention.
So those can be multi-use depending on what the needs are.
Potentially, depending on
Right.
how they decided to utilize them. So, you know, we have made really good progress, and my hope is that we can hopefully get a final draft of these that are within the space allocation, potentially, provided that it's all right with you guys for the July Board of Education meeting. Could there be one?
You guys have one?
We're having a special in July to discuss budget.
I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna ask that it might be possible,
We could add items,
yeah, up until,
but that would have to be on the agenda. We can't add an
Right.
item in a special as meeting itself.
I don't know,
When are items due?
when we have
I
that,
would say at least a week ahead. Yeah, call Bob Alba if you want to.
yeah, you know, Bob,
Item.
I'll give him.
July 5th might, you said it was July 5th. That might be aggressive to try and cut this much square
Yeah.
footage. Yeah. I don't,
It's gonna take some,
yeah, so. You know, my goal is to try and have a finalized version of the educational specifications for when the architect was brought on board. So that way they at least have space allocation as to which direction we're headed.
so, what I'm thinking. I mean, if possible, I'll talk to Bob, maybe we can do another special group, get brief meetings from him.
Yeah.
If necessary.
Yeah, I mean, we can have this, you know, even August. I mean, I know we have a retreat in August. So we could possibly even on the retreat day,
Yeah, like you said, if it could be just a single item agenda based.
Sure.
Too, you know, so,
or hey.
but we need to get,
Zoom meeting.
yeah, right, so the issue is that those ed specs need to be approved by the Board of Ed. for the grant app.
Yeah, one of the components is that we have to attach certified meetings that the Board of Education has approved.
And so you're gonna have one meeting and then you gotta get minutes approved at the next, so we gotta wait for that.
Now. I read supposedly the education legislation passed by the state. Was there an additional 5% that they were giving for reimbursements? You know that, Mr. Mayor? If
Above the aid.
yes, if
No,
you
not
approve, something on fair housing or something. There was some sort of legislation. that
We have
came-
special legislation to get us to 80. So it may be if you're at the 67 or the regular new school, because it varies by community, so the reimbursement rate, so. In our case, we would get 67, now we're getting 80, so I don't think it's gonna apply to us.
You're referencing the housing tax that you went to.
Right, but there was a carrot that they were dangling that you would get an additional 5% on school construction reimbursement.
I don't think that passed.
All
I
right,
remember reading an article where major pieces of legislation never got through both chambers.
all right, so I wasn't sure if that got through or not.
I mean, that would be helpful.
Right,
I think if that happened, we would.
I would think. Gomez.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think so too.
yeah, because there were things tacked onto weird bills.
I was hoping to get 90,
So,
Let's be happy for you.
80, I'll be happy.
starting.
I'm happy to get that. But they were comparing it. though.
Mike, what are you looking from us tonight? You presented something, now you expecting an answer from us, or did you just?
It was more just a status update to show you guys where we are as far as the process to
Okay.
include you guys with what we've been doing, so.
Okay.
You know, I also have some updates regarding the architectural RFP. You know, it's been advertised for a couple of weeks. I think we advertised publicly on May 31st. We did do a walkthrough that was non-mandatory for bidders that wanted to come and see the two different sites on June 7th. I was personally very pleased with the response. I think we had 2, 6, 8,
All right, that's.
12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17,
20.
not 17 individual firms, but
People.
Yeah.
yeah, there were 17 attendees. I anticipated that
20.
the parking lot at the site of the former Greenville School would be more than enough, and it almost filled up, so that was really positive. I think you guys were represented there by basically every architect that I know of in the state that would have the capacity to build something like this, so I think the package is advantageous.
Shop cookies and that's.
So when is the final date?
Yeah, it can be.
It's
Should we say general location, you don't need to wait.
June 28th.
June 28th, yeah, at 2 p.m.
This proposal would be,
Hang on,
we should probably work on,
we're gonna talk about that as part of the meeting agenda. Edit them.
if we're going around,
Yeah.
we talk of things that aren't related to.
Correct.
To be.
Yes.
Yeah, so, we have been receiving questions through the online portal, that the city purchasing department uses. We've been answering those and issuing addendums as necessary based on questions that we've received. Mostly minor clarifications, nothing.
Bob's been in contact with me regarding a couple issues. But he's got a pretty good idea where we've been at and stuff and our feeling, how we've been handling these RFPs and stuff like that. So, because there was some question about how much the fee goes into it. Our first consideration is qualifications and the right person for the job, then we'll look at the fee. So it's.
We were looking for a grant submission date, still September 1st or thereabouts.
Yeah, I did, schedule.
We had until the end of October.
No, the end of September.
End of September.
So I had laid out grant application submission September 1st.
September 3rd. And it has to be finalized for the drop dead date is October 1st.
Correct.
Whoever we hire, they've got 60 days to come up with a conceptual.
Well, they have a little less than that. So and the only reason that they have less than that is because there still is an estimate that needs to be done, a conceptual estimate, as far as where the allocation of the cost for the construction portion of the project are going to land. We've been working through the soft costs, the architect, the other consultants, legal fees, commissioning agent, moving services, utility costs, any, the FF&E costs based on previously FF&E furniture, fixtures and equipment, and technology. So, I did lay out a schedule based on, us having the educational specifications approved at the July 11th Board of Education meeting. I couldn't find a calendar per se for the Board of Ed on the webpage as to when the next meeting was. So it looked like it was always the second Tuesday of every
Yeah,
month.
so we don't meet in July, no, it's normal.
Yeah.
Those would be special.
I also, with regards to the schedule update, we have been working on drafting a construction manager, request for qualifications and proposals to potentially bring them on. Timeline that I have laid out for that was we would approve the construction manager RFQ similar to how we did the architect one. I laid out the first approval date, if possible, would be July 18th to approve the construction manager RFQ, and I also included a secondary meeting, special meeting, similar to what we did for the architect in the event that it's needed. And you know, we would receive bids back for the construction manager sometime, around the end of August, based on how the schedule lays out.
Now, to get prices from a construction manager, you're gonna need engineer and drawing.
Well,
Mostly what you're doing when you're getting a construction manager is, you're laying out the schedule for them. And, you know, the size of the building. And you're getting their fee or their, general requirements of their staffing. Their fee, insurance,
If
All that.
they're at risk, the contingency, right?
and their CM contingency. So really,
So you give an estimated, it's called a parametric estimate of what you
Correct.
say, your parametric for size of the building,
correct.
and they're gonna give you a fee based on that parametric
Correct.
number. Okay.
and time, and time.
Because they have to have.
Yeah,
number.
Yeah, technically, we have to discuss how we're gonna
Right,
do.
it's the duration, so we'll say the, design duration is 12 months.
Okay.
The construction duration is 16 months. You have pre-con that, you know, certain responsibilities during the design, process. And then you have your responsibilities when construction starts, bidding, obviously, and then construction. And your construction, again, your time frame is 16 months. What kind of staff and what reimbursables do you need for that 16 months in order to build this building?
So
And a lot of, and well, I shouldn't say a lot of.
Not that over
Yeah, so some of the, some of the times we will say, at a minimum, you need to have full-time project manager, superintendent, and project engineer on site. And then tell us what you need to supplement that staff. MEP, superintendent, another project engineer for a certain amount of time, and they'll, you know, they've done this a number of times. They know the process, they know what's required, and they'll staff the project as they see fit. And we'll evaluate that staffing and their fees, their construction contingency that they're looking to get, and make the event, you know, make the decision based on those factors as well as.
Okay, so we're hiring an architect to do the design. That's what's due on the 28th.
Mhm.
Okay, now is the architect who is the architect gonna work for?
The building committee.
Okay. So
Not me.
So the building, okay, so then the construction manager
Mhm.
basically takes the architect's plans and specs.
Yep.
And builds the schools.
Correct.
So the construction manager hires all the trades and all like that.
If they're at risk, yeah,
It's,
Okay, that's all I want.
they're gonna hold the contract.
they're gonna hold the contract.
I'm gonna assume that we're gonna do it that way, so we did Kelly that way. I thought it worked out pretty well. So you know, why do I wanna mess around? We do not wanna mess around with holding the contracts.
No.
So,
Well, I wouldn't recommend that.
yeah,
You know, rarely it's done.
Stay in our lane.
yeah, there you go, there you go.
Ladies, your firm play in the process as we go forward.
We oversee the architect, the design process, as well as the construction process. And make sure
They're a
that you are adhering
That's
to.
what- so-
Yeah.
So we have a single point of
We have a
contact.
single piece.
That's what I'm.
Yep.
That's what I want to do.
Correct.
We, generally speaking, although we'll meet with a CM and the architect on a regular basis, like we are right now. But we'll also work on a day-to-day basis if there's some milling to be done. But we mean, I think one of the things we're gonna have to talk about, I mentioned, you know, I think in the latest email is that, you know, we're gonna probably, you know, when we get to the shovel in the ground part, you know, create some kind of executive committee. That we'll be able to make a decision. And then report back to the committee as a whole, you know, at least minor decisions, so that we don't hold things up. And this is gonna be especially important, because let's face it, we do have an aggressive timeline here. And we don't wanna be the ones holding anything up.
I told Mike not to bring that up here because I thought it was too premature, but.
Did you? Oh, no, I brought it up. I brought it up with them already. So,
More-
yeah, we're gonna need to find a mechanism that'll work for everybody.
That was this.
No, you're right. It's very important to have that, to keep things moving along.
Whatever that mechanism is, and I don't want to be the sole
I didn't-
proprietor. So it's,
Sort of.
Then going on your items, is there anything else on the space allocation?
no, I think we're good. So anyone, are you done? with this?
Yeah,
All right, so gotta move this along. Public comment. I don't see anyone here from the public other than staff and stuff and, participants that I'm aware of. So we'll skip over that. So we'll do the scoring rubric for architectural services, the RFP discussion. So y'all should have gotten the copy of the rubric. Peter did a draft initially, and then we went through it and made some, additions and changes and whatever in the wording and some numbers and whatever. So it is weighed heavily towards experience. So those, if you looked at it, which I think is probably going to be the most important, criteria here. So I don't know if anyone's got any questions when they reviewed it. So I'll open the floor for that.
Look good.
Yeah. Bob, what do you think, Mr. Professional?
I thought it was good. It's basically the same one you use.
Very similar.
Yeah.
The numbers, we changed some of the,
I know you changed some of the rating factors.
Yeah.
I think that's a good, good version.
Sheila Hayes.
So it's not so much about the rubric. I guess I want to get clarification. At the last meeting, we discussed that we were going to refer to what was originally just put in as the Greenville School.
Yeah.
We were going to refer to the site of the former Greenville and spell Greenville with an E. Okay, so I guess for consistency.
Is it Greenville with an E?
It is Greenville.
Then I screwed up here. Then I'm thinking I screwed it up here. I've only lived in this town for what, 50 years?
So, no, it's so, it sounds like we have consistency
Thank you.
with documentation.
Yeah.
And so I just asked.
All right, so we'll fix that. I'll fix that.
the one comment that I will make regarding this. So the way
I will not
that
forget.
the project was submitted legislatively, it's labeled
Which is it?
with the state as the Greenville Elementary School.
And
The scheme of things.
If,
Yeah.
if, my suggestion would be, because I've worked with towns where they have,
You want
and
to.
I'll just give you an example, an early childhood center, but it consists of 3 early childhood centers and they're each called early childhood center. So then the only way to differentiate the projects is, it's a bad example, given the situation, but I think it would be best if you were to use the term Greenville Elementary School, just because that's what the state has it within the legislative package. You
Oh,
can
it's
use-
not what they.
yeah, it's on,
You have to keep it
yeah,
that way.
it's in the legislation as green.
For purposes of dealing with the state, that's how well, quite honestly, they go by the project number. State project number, but
And,
and the name.
yeah,
But you would have an opportunity to change it. I would suggest wait until you're at least 75% done with construction before you want to change that name if you.
BOE's gonna probably name it something else anyway.
God knows. Who knows? We're far from that.
Why would they?
well,
All right, that's not for now.
The Stacy Gould.
Thank God it got built.
Going back to the rubric,
All right, folks,
going back to the rubric,
which is what we're on.
okay, does anybody have any concerns or questions?
No, the
No,
rubric
thank
is.
you.
I mean, just-
All right,
What you're doing is saying.
Can I get a motion to approve the rubric? then?
Yes.
yes.
Stacy, Cindy for the second. All right, any other discussion on the rubric?
I think the weighting is good. The weights assigned to each part is good. Yeah, and it comes out to an even 100 points, so excellent.
No, I thought it came out okay. All right, so roll call vote then, Joe DeLucia,
Yes.
Greg Balassi,
Yes.
Greg Carabin.
Yes.
Peter Gauthier. Christina Sadler.
Yes.
Stacy Gould.
Yeah.
Cindy Beauregard. Sheila Hayes.
Yes.
Mark Rulo.
Yes.
Myself, yes, 10-0. Thank you. On to the next. Thank you,
I'm the timekeeper.
yeah, God bless you. There you go. Schedule of ratings and interviews, and I'm referring here to the architect. So, they come in the 28th. It's gonna take us a week at least, depending on how many we get, to at least do the written evaluations, at least. So I'm thinking, we could have quite a few.
Well, you said there were what, 17 people? But
Yes.
approximately how many firms do you think? 8, 10?
Probably about that attended, and then there's more that.
They
Actually,
didn't have to go to them.
But-
Not mandatory, for them to do this walk, correct?
Correct, it was non-mandatory, but the great part about the city's purchasing portal is that
You know how many.
it
people-
tracks how many
the
people
package.
physically downloaded I'm just gonna make some tallies for you real quick.
All right, so you're gonna
And just
give us a count of how many have downloaded.
Don't do consultants, just do. All right.
To the best of my ability as well, but
It's a rough estimate.
Yeah, was it 8? I ran it was 500.
You're right. We have been there this times.
I don't get any sleep now.
there's like 3 pages of.
Oh, mackerel.
I would guess you're probably gonna get about 12.
Okay, so if we're going, so back to scheduling this, so if we have it on the 28th. What are we looking for? Everything, what are we looking to get Bob the numbers? A week is pretty tight if you're gonna have,
Yeah,
Eight
there's that many.
and it's the 4th of July.
Spending a lot of time doing this. Well, how about, what's the 28th? What day of the week is the 28th?
Wednesday.
This is-
Well, let's go past that next week and we gotta go at least 10 days through the weekend, have them back by Monday, so thinking.
Consider we're also under the September 1st deadline too.
Yeah. Is July 10th too late?
So what's the date when you can stay on step?
I mean,
We didn't have for interviews.
we provided tentative interview dates within the RFP. And the dates that we had provided within the RFP is, July 5th to July 12th.
Well,
It's a pretty long range. I mean,
well, I'm thinking. All right, why don't we do,
and
can
we're
we have,
that date or that range.
can we have them back? Let's have them back by the 10th. And do a Zoom meeting that day.
Monday the 10th.
Yeah, the Monday the 10th, that night. That's the second Monday. There's no council.
Council.
Huh?
Yeah, I come up with 20 just from the.
Well, I was looking at it.
From the,
Some of them are architects.
yeah, from the firms that I can.
30.
Yeah.
I'll say half submit, so say 15,
Mhm.
12 to 15.
That's probably, I think the project will be very enticing for a lot of architects to go.
Well, yeah, it's rebuild an entire.
We'll meet, we get the reviews in, it should be a simple matter, once you get the reviews in, it's a simple matter to total them up. And we'll have the number, so if we can get them in by. Monday afternoon, the 10th. And have them so we have the meeting that night on Zoom. We share everything, decide who we're gonna interview.
Who's gonna do the?
Either all our data, either Bob and or me.
I have no problem doing it.
Yeah.
The guy in the corner.
Just send them, like we did for these guys, just send them me,
Yeah, send it.
spreadsheet, I'll put up.
Yeah, so Bob has been doing that. That system's worked pretty good.
So if we could just have to.
So no.
So
Bob needs the scoring back to him on, not July tenth, because that's the meeting. Then you're gonna have time to plug in these numbers.
And I'm gonna be gone that week of July 10th.
You're gonna be gone?
July 10th.
So what do you, maybe.
All right, why don't we, you send them to me and Mike, I guess, and we'll do the totals.
Well,
Yeah.
the date I'm asking for is if you're opening the bids on the 28th of June.
Yeah.
Okay, when are we getting the, okay, here's architect A, B, C, D, E.
We did
I would have
24 hours.
Yes.
Quick as possible.
Open Bob, so on 28th.
Gonna be we're doing pretty much electronic submittals now, right?
Yeah.
It's all electronics.
Yeah, so we're gonna have PDFs of all these things and they can.
Okay,
Bob, you just gotta give them access to it.
Right.
Yeah.
We put it,
I'll give everybody on the committee access to the bonfire portal.
yeah,
You can go in, access every single, we don't have to upload them to some Google Drive or anything.
And then,
With every person on there, you just go on, you register on bonfire, you can access every submittal for that project.
but Bob, the scoring can be in bonfire as well, so you get,
I can
it's
make that
immediate.
private, yeah.
Right, so the scoring is immediate,
Yeah,
so
they
as
can-
you review
as
your
they're
scoring-
reading. they
yeah,
can
you can
sort.
set that up, that would be good.
I can do that.
That'll work.
okay, but what's the last date that you
So-
have to have the scoring completed?
can we get it done, say, Thursday or Friday before? Is that gonna give you enough time to compile?
Listen, I'm leaving on the 9th, which is Sunday, so if you get it to me. Let's say on Friday. Because I imagine there'll be, not everybody's gonna dump them on Friday.
Let's do Thursday.
Thursday, that's fine.
Well, Mike said he'd be willing to take the, compile the data and
That's
verify,
what,
right?
Right,
So if you can do that, if we have it all in by 7:10 at noon,
Mhm.
can you have it available
for that
6:30
meeting,
Monday night?
that's the same day.
Yeah, the only thing is, Bob would have to give Mike permission.
He says what?
yeah,
Okay,
I mean, once they're all in the
And
spreadsheet, it's a pretty simple.
and
Exactly.
if we're able to get the scoring to work through the bonfire portal, we won't even need to use the individual sheets. You'll open one
Yep.
through the portal, read through it, and then score it right after you're done.
Right. It's, right.
Potentially.
No, I mean, that's what we've done that before.
Yeah.
Someone needs to come to the meeting. Sheet.
Oh.
So that we're all looking at, you know,
Yeah,
well, just Zoom
Gonna be a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
But
I'll-
I would feel silly one.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I would feel more comfortable.
Freaking screen.
I would feel more comfortable to set the deadline on a Thursday or Friday. Give us a couple of days, give them a couple of, there's always technical problems, especially when you're dealing with all this.
All right, so,
Yeah, whatever format it comes out in, whether or not we use the website, I'll put it together in a nice table for everyone to read, where you'll be able to see everyone's evaluation. We can go from there.
I'd like to have at
do
least.
you wanna
a day.
try to have it by COP Thursday, the 6th? I mean, that's pushing, that's like a week, a little over a week.
In the fourth.
In the portal,
No, I meant, we'll give you the fourth. so.
yeah,
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah.
I know that.
Some people have plans.
I'll be the king.
Well, one day,
Special meeting the next night.
yeah,
The fifth.
Yeah,
I mean,
So July 6th. Your scores have to be the fourth.
Well,
Right?
yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
It's a whatever that is.
Yeah.
We're not fine.
Okay, whatever it is.
All right.
Bob, can I make a special request to have hard copies of all them? Please, and I'll stop that again.
gotta print them out, that's a lot, that's a lot of.
Well,
Hard copies of what?
what?
The proposal,
Minutes?
I
It's the
can't.
middle, you know.
He keeps talking, sorry.
You want hard copies of all those submittals?
Yeah,
It's 40 pages apiece.
sorry, but I just work a lot better on paper.
I get that, but
You,
The what?
I get that, but that's a lot, like I said, that's a lot. And it's
Well,
all-
depending on how many, let's.
well, that's what I'm saying, I mean, if you get 12 of them and they're hundreds of pages long.
Yeah, don't be that bad, it's just.
It's 40, it's gonna be.
Well, maybe not 40, maybe
Just, these guys.
that's just gonna be
Yeah, I know.
50 to 80
It's
pages.
just such a pain, in the neck, you know, it's just that so much harder than using a computer.
I mean, the way that it was written.
And we did the last time. I do, is I print out the storage sheet. And I can't have the chicken, you know, I can do that. But if it's, that you have to do it on the bonfire, you not can't look at this.
Well, you can print out what I sent you, for each one and do it.
That's what I'm saying, but then, right, that's.
And then just plug it in the bond
Right.
at the end.
I don't disagree, I'm that way as well, but. It's a lot, you know, the print out the responses.
Once we
Oh, you're right, if you. Print out the script.
That's what I'm saying.
That's right.
We
That's
need
what
a
I-
couple days.
Oh, hey. Please, thank you. Get a lot of control here.
All right, that's for our ratings. Now we gotta schedule interviews.
Correct.
Now. By our scoring, we're gonna get it down to what, a maximum of 5?
4.
4. All right,
I think you do 4. I mean, if there's a tie or something, yeah, maybe you do 5, then, but, 4. Oh, Bob?
Well, I mean, I think the goal would be 4, but if you get 3 that are here.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened.
We'll just right down here, so you have a clear grade.
You can do.
Yeah, when we got done, I mean, they were pretty obvious that we liked obviously better, so.
The state doesn't want you to interview, doesn't want you to interview more.
The statute is no more than 4.
Right.
so we can't do 5. The
No.
statute says 5, I mean 4, that's all we can do.
Doesn't mean you have to.
Right, you don't have to, you can do less. You're correct.
That's what I'm saying, let's look at, it. I mean, the goal would be to take the top 4, but if there's some kind of clear demarcation between 3 and 4. You know, where you got 3 in the 90s and you got number 4 in the 70s, you might not want to do.
Well, that makes it easy, because then that can be just a one-time thing.
Right. So,
Yeah, we did that last time, and it's. Doing it.
It's a long night.
Doing it one night is over.
yeah,
It's ugly, but
But I would just make a suggestion, if it comes out to be 4, that, and I know it's hard because people work, but you might want to look at
Break it.
starting the meeting earlier,
yeah.
not start at 6:30 because if you do 4, you're gonna be here in mid.
All right, so I think. So I'm thinking, let's see, 1, 2, 3. So our regular meeting would be, the 18th.
So could we do it on the 13th?
we should do it the week of the 10th.
Okay. So, you want to, anyone know of the city calendar?
I've got it up,
Very good. For the 13th?
the 13th. I don't think anyone here sits on the Mohegan Park Improvement
Yeah,
Committee.
all right, I think we're good. All right, let's shoot for the 13th then. What? For meeting for.
Oh, I thought we mean the 10th.
10th will be a Zoom, that's for our.
And then we'll meet on the 13th. So we're
Right.
interviewing on the 13th.
Correct. Meet on Zoom on the 10th. Interviews on the 13th. That's obviously 13th in person.
Oh, wait a minute,
So
July
next
10th.
meeting for interviews
10th Zoom.
is the Zoom meeting.
Who's what? July 5th. What?
And we wanna do earlier. 5:30.
Well, don't forget, if you send them, if you send them earlier and you're gonna be here till 9:30, 10. You know, there's dinner somewhere in the process.
Yeah. Some people that eat. Don't cut into happy hour.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, how much time are you allotting for each interview? How many questions are you?
I would say like you did
an hour.
an hour, right?
Hour total,
Right.
40, you know,
40,
40, 20,
So then
or 35, 20.
Yeah.
you start at 6 o'clock. you're
35, call it 35, 20.
Okay, that's fine, but I'm just saying, if you're gonna be interviewing 4.
Yeah.
It's 4 hours,
Correct.
so you start at 6, you're not getting home till 10:30. Or later.
should probably have a 15-minute break.
Well, if we do-
So this is fun, that's why I'm bringing this up.
Yeah.
So if you're starting at 5:30, you know, you're starting at 5, you're eating dinner, what do you do?
Having dinner.
Yeah.
Not at 5, you need to go in.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, maybe pop the breakfast and bring some stuff.
Yeah, but when are you having them?
Talk about
Deli, like, many times.
You think it's pick it up?
Yeah.
Well, or you.
Well, we-
Everybody can grab that.
No.
Tell the boys.
We can be room to
20
Fun.
Q and A, 10.
Right from here.
Right.
And the firms are gonna want,
Right.
the firms are gonna want, I would say, a week to prepare, because they're all gonna submit.
I said,
You don't wanna tell them on a Monday, you'd like to see it Thursday. That's,
Well, if we tell them now, all right, if you're a finalist, you're gonna interview one of the.
I know, which is ethics
7:30.
to put in all the proposals. It's not fair to have 10 firms
Right,
spending
Mark, if we start.
days preparing for something they're not gonna do.
6:30, each of them, we want dinner.
I understand that point. I've been in that position.
I mean, you think it from your, right, I mean, it's just not fair to the firms.
We did provide them with, not that it matters, a tentative schedule as to when we would be doing interviews, but we are.
So they are somewhat of.
Yeah.
I mean, think of
I
the
agree.
effort, think of the effort you put in for a presentation. And if you knew they were only gonna interview 4 and there's 10 people putting that in,
Mhm.
it's not ethically, professionally to do that.
I agree. I agree.
It's from a professional point of view. They're gonna be spending, all the firms are gonna, the firms you're gonna interview are gonna spend time and money for the interview. Okay, you don't, it's not professionally acceptable to have 10 firms spend all that time knowing that they're not, probably not gonna have to come. It's like you can say it's a business development course, but it's not true. I've dealt with architects and engineers for 40 years. It's not a professional way to deal with them. Yeah.
But would you recommend the rest that's in the state regulation, not what you need more than 4?
Yeah.
That's mandated by state, if I understood.
You know, I'm not, I'm explaining, Sheila, is that you can't tell 10 firms prepare for something and knowing that you're only going to interview 4. It's not fair to every firm to have to prepare. You should all, just like we should do is vote, say, we'd like to interview these 4 firms, give those 4 firms time to prepare professional presentations, not
So
not to tell all 10 to do it.
my suggestion would be, you've got a special meeting on the 10th, right? Is do the interviews on the 18th at your regular meeting.
That'd be fair. I agree.
And on the 11th, we would be able to send out.
Everyone will be able to send out the notices to the final.
Right, that would be.
So they'll have all week.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that myself.
Yeah.
And then, plus they would have a weekend.
Right,
Yeah.
well, and again, no, that you only have, only the firms that interview are gonna have to prepare.
With the 18th. Yeah,
Right, because otherwise, like you said, with 2 days' notice, you're gonna have 10 firms prepping.
Right,
You know,
Just in case, right?
and you're not gonna have a quality problem.
you're gonna have them
Yeah.
spend 50 or 100 grand, whatever it is.
Well, I mean, there's a cost associated with it.
Right.
Yeah,
So then we're
All
back,
right,
to
so-
we'll have to start the Tuesday meeting, oh,
Yeah.
we're gonna do 4, we can't do
We can,
it.
I can do it. It'll be a special situation, but that's okay, we're just doing the interviews anyway. It'll be a cursory opening minutes and start the interviews.
So will we meet after that evening and pick them, or are we gonna meet again?
Depends how long we go.
Well,
I think we won't know until we know exactly how many we're gonna interview.
so the schedule, staying on our.
So we're
schedule
thinking 4.
for the first, if we don't give them a notice until, let's say we meet the 18th and do the interviews. We meet on the 19th on Zoom and pick our first choice. Does the 19th or 20th
That'd be the 20th.
support the schedule?
the schedule was built based,
A little more aggressively. I think the
if you
schedule.
push the
have
architects, if you push the architect selection by 1 week. It's really an independent activity of the other selections and other items. The only caveat to saying that be that. Based on how I have it laid out, we had them starting the conceptual design
And
on the 13th, the day after the proposed interview. So it would cut into the conceptual design time.
don't think that they won't come with. At the, for whoever gets interviewed,
They're gonna bring that.
yeah.
They're gonna come in and say.
Yeah, the work,
Just like you folks, when you came in here, you had the RFP, you came in, you knew what we were gonna ask you, and you said, here's my. So we'll get a game
It-
design back.
It's not unusual then for architects to throw together a design of some sort to say, hey, this is what we can do here. Especially if you give them a week to do it.
and really,
Now, it doesn't mean, the concept really is for us to give to our estimator to get the estimate for the grant application. If you don't like the concept, you don't have to, it's not that you have to move forward with
We
that.
have, we need the concept to go for the grant,
Correct,
and then that can vary once we have the grants.
absolutely.
to Jim's point, I had, the way I laid this out last week was the draft of the conceptual design from July 13th, August 4th, then finalizing the conceptual design from the 7th to the 16th. And then the conceptual estimate starting on the 17th, basically all of August. So to slide it by that little amount of time really shouldn't have a large bearing on,
No, the firms are gonna, the firms that do interview,
no.
are gonna have the capacity. If we tell them we need it in 2 weeks instead of 3, that's a manpower issue, they build that in.
Yeah, and that was actually one of the questions.
What's that?
That was actually one of the questions. Someone asked and said that the conceptual design period was aggressive, and our response was, it'll be the responsibility of the firm submitting to staff the job appropriately to meet the deadline.
Well, you're gonna see in their submissions, 75 or 80,000 square foot building. Boom, here's our plan.
Yes.
Here's a stock plan.
Okay, so back to the questions. We need the date, so that 10 July, we're having a Zoom. To rate, you provide all the ratings of the firms. 18 July, we're doing the interviews. Those are the dates.
And probably start early. If there are 4 interviews, we're gonna be starting very early. It'll be like at 4 o'clock. or
And could we put in?
Yeah.
A half an hour
Yes.
dinner break of some sort, either brown bag it or tea bag it.
Yeah, I'll see what I can work out.
So we do.
So we do 2, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, we take a break for half an hour.
6 to 6:30.
Right, and then start the next one, 6:30 to 7:30, and then 7:30 to 8:30. And then whatever happens.
As long as we're clear, we're not meeting on the interview.
No.
No, and that's,
And just,
So just one element of clarity to that schedule, does everyone anticipate that following the Zoom discussion on the tenth, we would have arrived at a short list of candidates for interview, and the 11th notification could be sent with the times?
Yep. And Bob, do you mind that if Mike or I send the notifications, because you're gonna be out there, right?
Well,
You're.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you don't mind sending the notification? Okay.
You'll actually do it. You'll act as the agent.
Yes.
The city's paying the rate, so.
Qualifications package at that point, so
Okay.
really all that they're doing is trying to come up with talking points as to what they're going to discuss.
basically.
That's what I'm saying, the whole-
Not too aggressive, but then.
Yeah, I mean, the parallel component that's gonna be necessary is the committee to draft. You know how you had questions for us to draft questions that you want to ask them. And maybe that could be a good discussion item to have at the July 10th discussion meeting, because by then you'll have reviewed all the proposals and could probably have questions
Sure.
that may apply to all the firms.
I
that
understand.
get the interview.
Makes sense.
I just wanted to clarify this. So between the 28th of June and July 6th, we're going to have to review and rate approximately 15 applications.
Maybe that, whatever we get.
Probably a maximum of 15.
We're gonna, whatever we.
Did we put in their minimum qualifications?
Minimum.
Yeah.
I mean,
We're screened out.
All right. Now, what I've done in the past is you put in minimum qualifications. If you don't meet those minimum qualifications, you're.
from the committee's standpoint, when you pick up.
We have been, they have been.
When you pick up one of these qualification packages, there is qualifying projects. We ask for 10 qualifying projects. And then we ask for the consultants that they used on those 10 qualifying projects and how many times they've worked with them. You'll probably be able to get an understanding relatively quickly that once you see these packages, the type of experience that
Who's got the
firms have.
Who doesn't? So so that, I mean, I think when we hired CSG, for instance, there were a couple that stood out on the bottom end of the scale regarding the lack of school experience. You know, that I think right away that almost universally we all, you know, because they didn't have that. So I think obviously the weighting of the rubric is to experience big time. So that's, you know, that's where we're at. So that's, yeah, so yeah, if they don't have the experience, if you're on the right, you could probably zip through these and
Well, we're not
they're
gonna,
not going to be qualified, you know, players.
we're not gonna hire somebody that's only built high schools in Florida. They're fine.
Yeah, that's gonna be. Because you're gonna need that, you know, the big thing is Connecticut experience, I should clarify that.
Right, because if you're heavy with Massachusetts experience, that's great.
It means something, but it's not the same.
It's a different.
Yeah, so you could have both the combo. You know, you need that Connecticut.
Okay, so. Everything, so the 10, what's that, the 10 and 11. We're having.
Not the 11.
We're
That's
issuing the
invites are going on.
invite.
Okay,
And then,
these on the 18th.
and we'll start that meeting early, it'll be at 4. I'll talk to somebody, maybe you'll provide.
Do you want us to send her letters?
Yeah, actually, what it is, I'll take orders. That's for the-
No, I mean letters, right? Hey,
Huh?
yeah, I'd like to.
Okay,
Actually, let's-
pasta fresca, Mr.
Ricky D.
And you.
Okay.
Put it in.
No.
Well, we do, well, some people are vegetarian, so we'll have to do meat.
Yes. Thank you.
So, yeah, but I got.
Did you want to say school?
What?
But we have time for that. Let's finish tonight before we worry about eating
Dinner,
dinner.
right, yes,
Okay.
Greg, yes, Greg. All right,
Peter,
Peter, go ahead.
A couple of, so before we just,
Getting-
that one is,
You're getting-
Christine was whispering. Even if she didn't know, but, right? So given the schedule that we're gonna do,
It's.
is there any way to get relief from 7-6? That we can,
We mean 7-6.
No, because it's a lot. Go ahead.
No.
Want me to finish?
Go ahead.
I just think that's a heck of a lot. If
It
you
is.
get up to 15, you know, being a holiday, like we have the special meeting on the 5th, which is probably gonna go for a while. And I just think it's. I really do. I don't know if there is any relief there, you know, because I know
We're kind of up against it.
I know.
well, Christine, that's why they're paying us the big buck.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Okay.
Christine,
Know that?
Christine,
Secret.
question, Mr. Chairman. If everyone doesn't submit,
We've had
what,
that.
what, do you- how many are you gonna need to be able to move forward?
I need a forum.
Okay, that's the answer.
So if somebody doesn't submit, I think Mark was late or something
Yeah.
last time, because he was late up, whatever, but and the. And so, you know,
So
we
we
just
need a
didn't, we
minute.
just didn't count him in the number.
We need
So
a
if you
minimum,
don't submit,
we need a minimum of 6.
so
Oh, definitely. it is.
it's a pain in the neck, and no two ways about it. It'll be a pain in the neck for everybody.
Yeah, and the thing is, if it's only, if it's only 6, those people have more influence. So if you're really interested, you'll cut the time out to do it, and you're more than 6.
I don't wanna, I don't wanna try, I don't wanna start talking.
It's true.
There's some, yeah, but I'm not, you know. It's gonna start World War III here, you know?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
not. I'm very-
See, everybody's got a. Here,
Second question.
Go ahead.
Do we need the questionnaire?
Need the questionnaire for the 10?
Yeah.
You mean the question?
The interview question.
Oh, that's a good question. Are you guys, are you gonna draft? You gonna draft questions?
Questions for the architect?
Yeah.
I certainly can distribute them to you guys.
We would like it.
Yeah, okay, for the meeting on the 10th?
Yeah,
Are you looking for universal questions for all the architects?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Exactly.
For the interview.
Yeah, and you could incorporate your minimum qualification.
Feel better.
questions in
It
there.
has to be.
That's fine. Sometimes you may have specific questions.
Yeah, we're pretty general, so.
Third question. I believe in the path when you selected. Bob went and did some review of the references
Correct.
of those we selected for interview.
Correct.
So Bob.
Well, no, we did that after we made the hiring decision. We checked after. We checked that. Or, you know, so and when we made the decision, if you remember, we did it pending a review of references.
Okay,
I-
right. Okay.
We're not that big.
So rather than call references on a bunch of people.
No, I was thinking that I saw we had kept in references 3 or 4.
No.
Okay, no.
Yeah, I think it was.
Right.
We were selected pending.
You check the references on all the candidates, you check the references on the candidate you. want.
Right.
Especially the lawsuit. part.
Well, are you lying?
That's pretty, that's kind of like a tiebreaker.
Well, that's what it helps narrow the field.
The top firm we select is gonna have excellent references.
Right.
So it's a moot point.
They're not gonna give you bad.
yeah, any reference that you call should be a good one, hopefully.
Yeah, you're correct. Okay. Are we, any other questions there? Good, we can move on. And you should be happy. There you go. Invoices for approval, TSG. The first one I have up is Greenville. And that is for $16,169.95. Motion to approve by Sheila Hayes. Second by, oh, give it to Mark Kulos, second by Mark Kulos. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Joe DeLucia,
Yes.
Greg Velocity,
Yes.
Greg Carabin.
Yes.
Peter Garcia.
Yeah.
Christine DeSazio. I haven't screwed this up yet tonight. Stacy Poole.
Yes.
Cindy Beauregard. Speak up, yes, no here. Sheila Hayes.
Yes.
Mark Kulo.
Yes.
And myself is yes, 10-0. With one absentee. The next one is the Stanton invoice.
Mark Pulos move to approve invoice 3-1431.
In the amount of 15,000.
879.33.
Perfect, by Mark Kulo, second by Stacy Gould. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Joe DeLucia,
Yes.
Greg Balassi,
Yes.
Greg Carabin, yes. Peter Drucker,
Yes.
Christina Sazio, Stacy Gould.
Yes.
Cindy Bowman.
Yes.
I can hear you, that's on. You know what?
Yes.
Mark Kulos.
Yes.
And myself, a yes, again, 10-0. And we are golden there, so those are done. We have already covered the RFQ, the information we want to discuss regarding the RFQ for project construction manager in CSG's report, so I see no need to rehash that.
Just so he handled, once we hire the construction manager, then they're in charge of the RFPs and everything for hiring all the subs.
Right, they hold all the contracts. They hold them.
So all the insurances and whatnot.
Right.
They cover all that and.
It's part of the fee. So there's no, I don't see any reason to rehash any more of that. Anything else to be brought up before the committee?
Motion to adjourn.
The way it's, oh, no, it's in order. That's always in order. Motion to adjourn is in order. Stacy made by Stacy Gould, second by Sheila Hayes. Roll call vote. Joe DeLucia.
Sorry.
Motion-
Yes. Sorry.
Greg Balassi.
Yes.
Yeah, so good, like Greg Carabin, Peter Grotter, Christina Salzman,
Yes,
Stacy
yeah.
Gould, Cindy Beauregard, Sheila Hayes, Mark Fulo.
Yeah.
Yes, 10-0. The meeting stands adjourned at 7:58 PM. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Have a great night.
Thank you.